Hey everyone, PK here. You can see there is the savannah behind me. I can't zoom in actually, but you should be able to see that there's like a giraffe that is moving along. Hopefully you can see that. It's just there, like, how do I say this? Right about there. I'm actually on the balcony of my hotel room at the moment. We're at Disney Animal Kingdom Lodge, which is in Orlando in Florida, and we've had about 4 days here so far. We're gonna be here for like overall 7 days, and I'm just really tired. We've been walking like 25,000 steps a day, different parks every single day. Really fun. You know, I'm here with my wife and son, but it's intense. But in this episode, I just wanted to give you that backdrop. You can see the giraffes moving away. It's kind of like 6 p.m. at night. I guess they go away to sleep. Hopefully you caught him. There's some zebra and other wildebeest back there as well. It's a really cool hotel where your balcony looks over at the African savannah, basically. Anyway, without going on and on, this episode is just really raw. I don't really have anything scripted or, how do I say, like planned out to say. Here's better light for me. You can see my face a little bit better. Not sure if you want to see it, but anyway, it is here. But I do want to talk about something that I think is very important, and that thing is, when is the end of capitalism coming? I think this is very important and very interesting for property investors or wannabe property investors to understand and question at least. Are we at mid-stage capitalism or are we at late-stage capitalism? Here's some statistics for you. I was looking at my wife's phone where I just quickly jotted down some stats that I've been collecting recently. Okay, here it is. If your income is $375,000 a year or higher, congratulations, you are in Australia's top 1%. By contrast, the median taxpayer earns just $55,000. Okay, so we all know inequality exists, but the thing is that it's getting worse and worse and worse. Now you compound this with, of course, the Australian Bureau of Statistics shares official, quote unquote, unemployment statistics, but real unemployment statistics are sometimes a bit different because their stats include those people who work just 1 hour a week, or I think it's 1 hour a month or something like that. So they say that they're technically employed, but really, are they employed? I mean, not really. So here's the real statistics. This is from Roy Morgan. You can go on their website and check it out. Australia's real unemployment increased by 214,000 people. That goes up to a total of 1.8 million at the start of this year, representing 11.5% of the workforce. Okay, this is vastly different. I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm just trying to present some statistics that are widely acclaimed to be correct by a lot of people, by a very prestigious research house. 12% unemployment. Now that is different from the 4% unemployment that we hear. So we see a lot of people getting richer and richer, whilst the poor, I mean, I'm not trying to be condescending to anyone. These are just an honest diatribe of my thoughts. Why am I having these honest thoughts right now? I don't know. I'm at Disney World and I'm really tired, so maybe I'm becoming a little bit delirious, but I thought with the beauty of this background, and I have a bit of downtime with my son and wife watching a movie, I thought I'd do this episode because I haven't done anything for a while. So inequality just keeps on rising. Can you honestly survive on $55,000 in Sydney and Melbourne? You might say, well, PK, you live a lifestyle that's different. And sure, I'm very grateful to live what I do. And sure, people can live on $55,000, but I mean, that's the median. That, in other words, that means most people are around $55,000 a year. Like, that is really low given what cost of living is what it is at the moment in Australia, let alone in Sydney or Melbourne. So mid-stage capitalism or late-stage capitalism, when will people realize that the lifestyles that the rich are living are fueled by the toil of the poor, quote unquote? I'm using these terms loosely. I'm not intending to patronize or condescend anyone, I'm just losing these terms. The lifestyles the rich are living are fueled by the toil, the hard work of the poor. Okay, here's some other statistics. Australia ranks 9th globally for its population of high net worth individuals, those with more than 10 million US dollars in assets. This represents about 2% of the world's elite, and this will only increase. Millionaire migration to Australia is increasing every single year. What does this mean? This means that even though productivity is really low in Australia, more and more rich people, quote unquote, wealthy people, are coming to Australia, driving up house prices, driving up the cost of living, i.e. demand for goods and services, therefore the prices of goods and services, those that are demand driven, go up, and the median person or the average person gets left behind. Once again, mid-stage capitalism, like, are we just starting to notice this inequality, or is this late-stage capitalism where there could be a sense of, at some point, by the masses, thoughts, combined communal thoughts of enough is enough? Like, when do people realize, or when do people manifest their realization that we're not having this anymore? Or are they sufficiently numbed? Of course, Marx, I'm not a Marxist, but Marx said that religion is the opiate of the people, or the numbing ingredient or active ingredient of making people quell down despite their internal rumblings or internal dissatisfaction with the system. Are people struggling but are so numbed by social media and all the small shiny objects that the system, the capitalistic system, the government, our politics, gives them, that they don't want to revolt, that they don't want to do anything? I'm not trying to be sensationalist. I'm just trying to present some thoughts that you can also think about in your family and your friends, because I think ideas are worth, low-class men or women, for that matter, talk about other people. Middle class or medium class or average people, they talk about events. But I think high-minded people, extraordinary people, talk about ideas. And I'm not saying I'm extraordinary or high-minded, but I think ideas are worth discussing more than just people or events. And so these are ideas that I'm sharing with you. We're a property channel, we're a financial happiness channel, we talk about the economy. These are all, late stage or mid stage capitalism. The thought process behind this is all very pivotal to what we talk about in this channel. And I think I want to start to introduce you to that in a very honest and unscripted way. 2 generations ago, I'm reading here from my wife's phone where I made notes. 2 generations ago, you could buy a decent home, buy a car, have 3 to 4 kids, take annual vacations, and retire all with a middle-class salary. What went wrong? You can't do that anymore. A middle-class salary right now is $55,000 a year. Can you take a vacation with that? Can you buy a house? Can you have, a decent car? Can you have 4 kids? No way. I mean, I don't want to make this episode about myself, but, I can't help but saying we're here, like I said, in Orlando, Florida, for 7 days, 6 days really, at Disney World. We stayed at 2 different resorts, here at the Animal Kingdom resort, and also we stayed at the Polynesian. In total, including passes for the parks, food, the lodging, lightning lane passes, we've spent more than 15,000 US dollars. Now, once again, it's not intended to be braggadocious, because that's just stupid, but there's so much demand for Disney World, and it's not cheap. So I'm thinking, the US is doing it more tough than Australia, but there's enough people that can afford these things. Yet on the news, yet on the media, we're thinking, or we're seeing that there's a cost of living crisis, inflation. That's why Trump got elected in the first place, by his base, which is very much the median type of person. But the problem is that these days in capitalism, there's enough people that are wealthy enough for the economy not have to crumble because the average person can't afford anything. Do you know what I mean? I mean, let me know if I'm making incorrect statements. These are just thoughts. But previously, when people couldn't afford things, or the median wage or cost of living was too much, or wages weren't keeping up, then prices would come down. The supply of goods and services would be tempered, the economy would start to feel real effects. Things like Disney World. But here, like, these lodges are full, people are paying lightning lane passes, $1,000 a day that I think we paid or something like that. And it's so full. It's like sometimes the lightning lane is as full as the normal lane. There's enough people paying for this stuff. And so I think the problem is right now, there's enough people on the right-hand side of that wealth spectrum for politics and the government not to have to care too much about those in the middle. Maybe that's an incorrect statement, but once again, mid-stage capitalism or late-stage capitalism, when the government doesn't have to care about the average person. A 100K salary today holds the same value as a $54,000 salary in year 2000, 25 years ago. But wages haven't increased that much. I mean, still to this day, a 100K salary is almost double what the average Australian earns in terms of median wages or median salary. The goalposts have moved, but the salaries haven't. Sydney has 147,000 millionaires, right? 147,000 millionaires. That might be news to some of you, may not be news to a lot of you, but once again, there's so much wealth out there. And that's why house prices continue to rise. House prices are no longer dictated by what the average person can afford. So, I mean, there's no real conclusion to this episode. I'm just trying to illustrate what problems we have in this society. And I think the bigger problem we have in this society, and this is going to get a bit deep, and I don't intend to be religious or anything like that in this episode, but I use the example of our experience at Disney World. We're very grateful to be here. It's really fun. Having a good time. But, like most people that I see at Disney World, they might have saved for years and years and years to be able to come here, like from all over the world or all over America. And I see them on a scorching hot day. It's like 100 degrees Fahrenheit right now, like 90% humidity. They're not even able to do all the rides in a single park because the wait times are like an hour and a half on a lot of rides. And so this thing that is meant to bring them all this joy, this idea of happiness, when you get there, their faces are glum. They're like hot. They've got those fans with the sprayers trying to keep themselves cool. They're waiting in line for like an hour to go on a ride that lasts 2 minutes. There's so much anticipation of joy, but there's so much pain in the process of getting it. And when they do actually get on the ride, I see them making comments like, oh, that wasn't worth it, or that was mediocre. And I'm thinking that's a bit like what life is about. We celebrate enjoyment, but mostly enjoyment is an absence of distress. And I use Disney World and I see people's experiences, their faces, their countenance walking around Disney World with their families as a ecosystem or as a proxy for making that point. They all want to go on that ride, but in the meantime, it's like about trying to get their kids fed, to make it through the day. A lot of them are like sleeping on benches or even on the ground because they're just so tired. They won't even get through the whole day. And even when they do get to the rides, a lot of them are very fleeting, are very disappointing. And then you might say, okay, well, PK, you had lightning lane, so you must have had a great time. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we didn't have to wait too long in a lot of cases. But even with lightning lane, at the end of the day, you still want to leave Disney World. I mean, at the end of the day, you're like, okay, it was good, it was fun, I'm very grateful to be here, but I kind of want to go home now. There's only so many days of Disney World you can handle, or at least I can. So I don't want to get too spiritual or deep here, but I feel that this is a proxy for life in general. I think that doesn't matter how rich you are, lightning lane can be equated to richness. Okay, well, you can be happier in life if you have the lightning lane, if you have money. But at the end of the day, like, the ride is still the ride. You can get there faster, you can get there with more convenience. But at the end of the day, the ride, whether it's good or not, everyone's experiencing the same ride. And I think that's the same case for those that have money, right? Sure, you can buy a $12 million house in the Bay Area in California or a $4 million mansion in the Gold Coast. But at the end of the day, you're still living there, you're still sleeping there, you're still like working there, you're still doing the same things that anyone else is in other places. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not grateful for such things and other people aren't grateful, but my personal realization, and I think this is very personal to me, is that regardless of how wealthy you are, there comes a point where you just want to leave the park. You just want to, Lightning Lane's great, but you just want to leave Disneyland. You still find that the joy, regardless of, the conveniences offered to you, was still pretty fleeting, and it was more that the idea of happiness that you were sold was fun to achieve, but when you do achieve the object, that idea vanished, and when you actually achieved the object, it was a bit of a will-o'-the-wisp. It's like saving up, to buy a Maserati, and then when you get it, it's like fantastic. A month later, it just seems like any other car. You become used to it. It seems like any other Toyota. It's not like every time you see the Maserati, you're like, yeah, I got a Maserati. So anyway, I'm not sure I'm talking about this. Like I said, it's very unscripted. But I think capitalism is a bit like this, where those who get richer and richer and richer, it's no longer about enjoying that wealth, but it starts to become more about how to preserve it, how to preserve the idea of wealth so that you can divide society up. It's more about the idea of it's about this concept of, okay, wealth is the tool, or the division of wealth is the tool by which I can protect my conveniences. But now what? The grass is not greener. What do I do with this now? And the way that you got wealthy, people get stuck in that rat race. It's their own type of rat race, even though they're not making money, they're not working for the need to make money anymore, but they have no other way to become happy. So they're consistently or constantly stuck in that need for purpose by working. And you see this with a lot of billionaires, rich and famous people around the world. That's why a lot of them die from overdoses, drugs, addiction. They realize that the grass is not greener, and they sometimes look for a way to numb that pain, that, okay, now I got that Maserati, but I'm not happy. What do I do now? Or if they don't go to substance abuse, a lot of them go to this concept of, okay, I'll just stick with what I know, which is making more and more money, even though I don't need more. So this latter concept is what is dividing up the world more and more and more, and really heightening or making this problem of inequality more and more acute, more and more problematic. And I think that is a symptom of not early stage capitalism, not mid stage capitalism, but mid to late stage capitalism. And I think it's up to the masses to try to revolt against this. I'm not a Marxist, I don't know how that would happen, when that would happen, but in the meantime, I suggest everyone try to get on the right side of that formula, on the right side of that equation, I should say. This wouldn't be a property platform if I didn't mention that real estate is a really good way. Still, I don't know how long it will be the case for, but still, in Australia, the average person can still, work hard to get on the property ladder, the investment property ladder, and try to get on the right side of the equation. Because I think in talking about late stage capitalism, maybe in 5 years' time, maybe in 10 years' time, I won't be selling a course because property investing won't be realistic for the average person. And then maybe that's when the revolt, or at least the murmurings of a revolt, will begin. I think you can still get ahead in Australia, the average person, without too much intellect. I mean, stocks and starting a business and so many other things require a lot of study. The average person can't deal with that, whilst working a 9 to 5, having a family. But the average person can still invest in real estate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties, whatever it is, whatever is right for you. Birds fly high as they're able. That's still possible for the average person. And I think that's the beauty of real estate. You can still get on the right side of that equation, be on the right side of that inequality spectrum. But I don't know, honestly, how much longer you can do that. But let me know in the comments whether you thought this episode was worthwhile. I don't know if anyone else does episodes like this. I'm just trying to be more normal. Not normal myself, I should say. I should also say I'm not trying to be better than anyone, because I know I'm not. But I think these things are useful to be talked about. I'm not very intelligent as a person. You can probably tell that from my lack of articulation in this episode and filming it at night. But it's very beautiful back here. I think the giraffe's back. I don't know if you can see him back there, but it's very beautiful. But I just thought I'd record this episode just to throw out some stimulus and see what you guys think. Thank you for being with me. If you want more episodes like this, which may not be valuable, but attempt to share more of the sorts of things that are on my mind, then please leave a yes below. Please give me some feedback below. My name's PK. Thanks for being here. Hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up. Trying to produce authentic, real, down-to-earth, unscripted content. There's a lot of content out there, but I think, I'm just trying to be myself because everyone else is taken. So thanks so much. See you guys.